but he ain't me. Cool shades on a fighting machine, whipping tail, spitting fire. He's a wizard of a lizard killer gecko for hire. He is a Gex!
Yeah, that's right. Gex. Originally released in April of '95 for the 3DO of all things, Gex is a trash-talking, tail-whipping, fire-spitting gecko with a ton of attitude. Had it stayed on the 3DO, it's pretty likely I'd never get to play it, but luckily it was ported to the slightly less rare Sega Saturn and also onto one of my childhood consoles of choice, the PlayStation 1. Nowadays, you can download all 3 of the Gex games on the PlayStation Network for PS3 as well, so there's no excuse not to try out any of these great games. But here, I'm going to talk about the game that started it all. Gex. Gex is definitely a creation of his time period. What could be cooler than a wisecracking gecko with sunglasses? Just look at the late 80s and early 90s, and you'll find a plethora of cool and sassy characters all vying to be the next 90s mascot. And come on, all the coolest characters are green. Gex was indeed developer Crystal Dynamics' mascot character, and was designed to rival Mario and Sonic. Though Gex clearly fell short, he's still one of my favorite mascot characters. Gex is a 2D side-scrolling platformer with a ton of character and even more attitude. The game revolves around Gex, a gecko whose favorite thing to do is kick back and watch TV. Unfortunately for Gex, his evil nemesis Rez decides to use the television against him and sucks him into the tube. Gex must now work his way through various levels based on TV channels to beat Rez and get back to slacking. Gex can run, jump, tail whip, climb on walls, use his tongue to slurp up different power-ups, and bounce off of enemies' heads using his tail like a spring. Certainly a respectable repertoire of abilities, and you'll be using them all in spades throughout the game. Your objective is to enter a TV to a new level, find the exit, and hunt down the remote along the way. That remote will open up the next level for you. Some levels have multiple remotes to find, and sometimes you'll find a cassette tape, which will give you a password so you can pick up from there the next time. Unfortunately, only the 3DO version of Gex had a proper save system for some reason, despite the other consoles having save options as well. At any rate, each world is based on a TV genre. You'll work your way through horror, cartoon, Discovery Channel-esque jungle, foreign films, and sci-fi on your path to Rez. Gex went the Donkey Kong Country route of graphics, doing that weird, yet good-looking style of 3D sprite that many 3DO games had. Each world looks great, and is tied really well together thematically, all culminating in some of the most memorable boss battles I've ever challenged. Both the boss stages and the levels themselves have beautifully designed backgrounds and plenty of detail in the foreground. One of the most important things to get right in a platform is control, and Gex controls wonderfully. Some platformers have tough to judge jumps or that slippery effect on the character's movements, but not Gex. Gex is a joy to control, and reacts exactly as you'd expect him to. You'll face the standard platformer fare of moving platforms, death pits, underwater areas, and scrolling stages as you progress through each of Gex's levels. The difficulty level in Gex, I feel, is absolutely perfect. Its level of challenge is tough yet fair, and you'll almost never blame the game more than your own abilities. If you died, it's your fault. Gex starts off with 3 health, denoted by the gecko feet prints in the upper right, and you can collect power-ups that'll raise your maximum life, but you'll always start at 3 per level. Various power-ups can be eaten to make Gex move faster, give him temporary invincibility, give Gex an extra life, restore his life, or give him power-ups like the ability to breathe fire or jump higher. What's unique about Gex's power-up system is that you can either choose to eat the power and gain its ability, or tail whip it instead, which forfeits the ability but gives you back a health, sometimes resulting in some cool tactical decisions. These power-ups are really cool, and can give Gex an incredibly useful ranged ability, usually with a cool looking effect when used. Look at this poor sod melting to death. Awesome. Also scattered throughout the levels are golden flies. In typical side-scrolling platformer form, collecting 100 of these nets you an extra guy. And speaking of which, if you rack up a big enough score, you'll net a few more extra lives as well. There are tons of hidden areas to find, usually packed with power-ups, or the occasional bonus level. And if you're savvy enough to perfectly clear one bonus stage in each world, you'll unlock a secret hidden world that's pretty tough but nets you a special ending if you can clear it. Talking about Gex without talking about his voice is like having a pizza without the cheese. To top this tomato pie is Gex's attitude. Since all he does is loaf around and watch TV and movies all day, Gex is packed to the brim with 80s pop culture references.
Looks like Beetlejuice threw up. Rocket Man! Hope I don't make a wrong turn and end up on an old game of asteroids.
Voiced by comedian Dana Gold, Gex has a quip in the intro of every stage, tailored specifically for that world. Gex will spurt out references and various catchphrases as he goes about stages and opening up cans of whoop-ass. These little sound bites add a ton of character to the Green Gecko, and many had me chuckling, despite being very obviously dated. Dana Gold did an amazing job taking this gecko and really making him a cool and iconic character of his time period. And speaking of sound bites, each sound effect in Gex is amazing. And the soundtrack is a work of art as well, especially New Toontown. Though Gex is great, it's incredibly dated. To start, many of Gex's clever quips and references may be lost on you, as many are pretty topical of the 80s. Passwords are cassette tapes, and checkpoints are Polaroid cameras. I mean, when's the last time you've seen either one of those? The password system is awful, too. There's no reason for a PS1 game to not be utilizing the memory cards. Another minor gripe is that some stages just have Gex talking way too much, often repeating the same soundbite over and over. Also, should you need to use the password system, you'll be back down to 3 lives when you continue, regardless of how many you've racked up beforehand. My final gripe is that Gex is a pretty short ride. You can probably finish it in about 3 hours or less, and that's including the tough bonus world. Regardless of that, Gex is one of my favorite lesser-known gems. Solid platformer with a ton of character, interesting and fun levels, kick-ass sound and music, tight controls, and some incredibly memorable boss fights. Gex is a game I keep coming back to again and again, and is definitely a game you should be playing. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more Cyberphile content, and if you like this video, show me with that little thumbs up button. If you liked this video, you might like one of my other videos. You can click right on the boxes to jump to them. Cyberphile, offline.